Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of mouth breathing. It's taken the wellness world by storm, and for good reason. What if the way you breathe, especially at night, was silently impacting your sleep, energy, and face structure, your mental health, and even your behavior? From dark circles to snoring, overcrowded teeth, and attention issues, mouth breathing is finally being looked at as a root cause, not just a symptom. Today, I'm joined by Daniel, founder of GOAT, Greatest of All Tapes, the brand creating not just mouth tape, but nasal strips for adults and children too. So if you're looking in on this video and you can see us both with a nasal strip, he is going to tell you everything you need to know about this new wellness trend, I'm going to call it. Dan, welcome to Align Yourself podcast.
You for having me, Ebony.
Three times a charm. Poor Dan has just dealt with my baby brain. Not once, not twice, but three times. We're going into the start of this episode and we're 45 minutes deep because of my inability to press record. So, Dan, let's go
Yeah,
back to the beginning. What led you to create the greatest of all tapes? And this episode is going to be the best.
it's gonna be the best. It's
Yeah.
gonna be the one. I have had a crooked nose for a very long time. Haven't been able to breathe through one side because of a seriously deviated septum caused by what I think was a martial arts incident where I got punched in the nose really badly, broke it when I was 16, and I just lived with it for up until now. And it wasn't until I saw some social media posts from a guy I follow called Alex Hormozi, who famously wears the nose strips. He was talking about how it helps him sleep, how it helps him just breathe during the day and focus on nasal breathing. So I thought, why not give it a crack? I grabbed some from the chemist, just the whatever no-name brand, and it was just an instant fix. Like it was night and day. Could not believe how I had been breathing prior to this moment and how much of an impact it had, just this little strip. So I was sold from that moment. I slept with it that night. I slept with it the whole week, and I just felt so much better, so much more energy, so much more focused. My sleep was not interrupted like it usually is, like having to wake up and drink water because my mouth is so dry. All those things. So I guess from there, I realized I need this every night now. Like I'm hooked. I've got to buy these for the rest of my life, because I personally didn't want to get the surgery, and I'd been told by quite a few people that it didn't work or it worked for a little while and then it went back. So I was like, screw the surgery. Nose tapes are for me. Um, but then, being a creative, being a brand and design guy, I guess I thought, hang on, this could be better than what it is. Like, for starters, there was no cool brand behind any of the brands on the market, that I had seen at the time. It was mainly just a chemist thing, and it was, this product's been around since the 90s. So it's nothing new, but no one really knew about it. Like some people do who've tried it, but like it wasn't something that's everyone's seen across social media and things like that. That's because there was no cool brand. There was nothing that anyone wanted to be tied to. It was almost like a dark secret that they didn't want to tell people that they use nose strips at night. So I was like, hang on, that someone could do this better. And I could definitely do it better. So that was kind of one thing. The other thing was I do a lot of training, like high intensity training. So I would always be breathing through my mouth, because I couldn't breathe through my nose. So I tried the nose strips during training. They worked for a bit, but once I started sweating, they would just pop off and they'd just be annoying and you just end up ripping it off and you're back to square one. And it's even worse because you kind of had that really great 10 minutes where you could breathe through your nose and then you rip it off and you're like, oh, I'm back to nothing and I can't breathe again. So I thought, wow, we can really improve the nose strip and, change the materials, change the adhesive, make a performance strip that would work for running, high rocks, CrossFit, anything really high intensity where you need to breathe heavily, intake a lot of oxygen. So that was another kind of thing where I was like, we could definitely improve on this. And that was about it. Like, I just thought, why not take a chance? This has helped me so much. It could help thousands of other people. And like I said, it's not something that's new. It just kind of hasn't, in my eyes, was never done right. So I thought, why not do it right?
So, for anyone listening and not able to see us right now, the nasal tapes, just so if you haven't seen them online and you have no idea what we're talking about, they're like these really strong, sticky, adhesive tapes that you tape over your nose and you press down, and when you let go, it it kind of like picks up your nostrils and opens, and it literally feels like it doubles the size of your airways. So when you breathe in, it feels like you're literally getting high on extra oxygen. It's
Yeah.
insane. I did a little video just before in the last recording that wasn't recorded, of me putting it on, and it when I first put them on, I was at home with my partner, and I was like, "Oh my fucking God, this is epic. Like, it's insane." Because I'd been seeing them online so much, but I hadn't tried it until you sent them out to me. They're insane. Everybody needs to give these a go. It's so amazing. And even if you don't want to be seen out in public with them, wear them in bed. It's absolutely insane. And if you are trying to get your head around having your mouth taped, when you feel the extra size in your nostrils when you've got these nasal strips on, it will really alleviate that fear and that stress about covering your mouth when you're breathing at night with a tape, because you've just got so much more space in your airway.
Mm.
So can you tell us about the science and the research? What do the studies say about breathing and the difference between mouth and nose breathing for adults and children?
There's so much research, as I mentioned before. It's just some of the guys that sort of break it down in layman's terms that I quite like. James Nestor with the book Breathe. Huberman, he's really great at explaining it. There's a couple of other guys, but some of the studies, especially that James Nestor has sort of uncovered with his research into his book, we have evolved in a way that's actually detrimental to our breathing. So the way that our face structure has evolved over time has made mouth breathing more common and nasal breathing less common. And that's not how it's meant to be. We are not meant to be breathing through our mouth. It's meant for eating. But unfortunately, due to many things like our diet being one of those, we're not eating a lot of chewy foods anymore. We're eating a lot of soft food, so we don't use our jaw as much as we used to do back in the day. So we're not developing the jaw structure as much as we were before. Um, Even as we discussed last time with the children, how important breastfeeding is, because breastfeeding activates the jaw muscles. It's much harder for the baby, so they really have to work at getting the milk, and they're strengthening the jaw as they're doing this, which helps them grow a strong jaw. So there's many evolutionary things that have changed the way our face structures are for the worse for our breathing. But not only that, just our general lifestyles, the food we're eating, the way that we're sitting at a desk all day rather than standing up. So it's not conducive to big, deep breathing. We're shallow breathing because our diaphragm can't expand the way it should. So yeah, in an essence, we've retrained the way that we breathe for the negative, not in a good way. And these products here, mouth tape, nose strips, are all about retraining the breathing so that we come back to the natural way of breathing, which is nasal breathing. But if you want to talk about the benefits and the negatives of mouth and nasal breathing, I mean, there's so many. For starters, if we're talking about the negative side of mouth breathing, it's anything from feeling tired, anxious, just unrested because you're not getting the same level of uninterrupted sleep as you would if you were nasal breathing, poor mouth hygiene, bad teeth because the air going through your mouth decays the enamel in your teeth, your poor jaw structure. So it actually changes the structure of your jaw. So it's not as chiseled, it's more like a long jaw. Your face structure also changes slightly because your mouth is open when you sleep, which is a big part of your day. That sinks your face, bigger eye sockets. It's a more gaunt, sort of long look. It's just there's so many the facial things, the jaw becomes smaller, so teeth overcrowding. So a lot there to unpack in terms of the detrimental effects of mouth breathing. I think the most common and the ones that you sort of see straight off the bat is like the snoring and the waking up feeling foggy and feeling like crap. And you may just think, oh, I just had a bad night's sleep, but it could have just been because you were not breathing correctly. The benefits of nasal breathing, the way that we're supposed to breathe, what's happening when you breathe through your nose is you're basically filtering out, you're filtering out all the crap that comes through your nose. So it's an immune defense. So you're blocking any bacteria that are coming through, whereas you're not when you're breathing through your mouth. Secondly, you're converting more of the air oxygen into nitric oxide, which basically helps the oxygen absorb into your blood, which helps recovery, boosts endurance and stamina. It helps fight infections. It just increases the oxygen delivery to your body. We're getting 6 times more nitric oxide when you're breathing through your nose than if you're breathing through your mouth. So instantly, you're just getting so much more benefits out of nasal breathing. I think it's about 18% more oxygen is absorbed into your bloodstream when you breathe through your nose than through your mouth. And so the more oxygen that's being absorbed into your bloodstream means essentially better recovery, right? Because when you're working out, the faster you can recover, the more you can go harder, the more stamina you have, the longer you can go, so your endurance is better. And then when it comes to sleeping, deeper sleep, better recovery, which leads to waking up feeling $1 million rather than feeling like crap. So yeah,
So if anyone's listening and wondering if they breathe through their mouth, what are some key red flags for them to look out for?
I mean, for myself, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Your partner could say you're, a filthy mouth breather or just chainsaw snorer. Those are
Or
two major things.
what's the other one? Catching flies.
Catching flies. Yep. Even you could pick, sometimes I notice during the day, I'm just sitting there like my jaw is just open sometimes, and yet I'm just breathing through my mouth. So that's a red flag right there. But for sleeping, waking up with a dry mouth, cotton wool mouth, cracked lips, waking up having to drink water because you're dry, snoring, sleep apnea. So the sleep apnea could be other issues as well, but so they're kind of red flags that are pretty obvious, I would say. Other ones, are more sort of the effects of mouth breathing, so a little bit more anxiety, attention deficit, so things like that.
One thing I've tried to look out for with babies, so any mums listening is, yeah, you want your baby's tongue to be resting on the top of their mouth behind their teeth. So I've noticed that, and if everyone listening checks in with their tongue right now and their positioning, you can pretty much learn where your tongue positioned in your mouth, and if it's stuck to the roof of your mouth and it's sitting behind your teeth, that's a really good tongue position. Where if it's lower, then that's when your jaw drops because your tongue the tongue's positioning really helps. So I don't really know the scientific stuff behind that. I've just heard it on podcasts and I've heard
Hmm.
it in the sense of how to ensure that your baby's tongue posture is good. I think actually my chiropractor is the one that taught me that. You want the tongue to positioned. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, 100%. And the chiros and like we talked about before, the dentists, they're generally really all over your breathing because it's all part of the same thing. It's so important. Um, just for your well-being. So a lot of chiros, physios, and dentists stock our product because they know how important it is um, for that, for your facial structure, for your breathing, for your overall well-being. So yeah, definitely. And when you're snoring or when you're mouth breathing, generally, then the tongue is down. It's not on the roof of your mouth. Like it's pretty impossible to have your mouth open and your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. Yeah. So and generally when you're snoring, the tongue has slipped back, depending on how you snore. It's slipped back into the throat, and that's how you get the snoring. But there's different styles of snoring as well. So many of our customers come to us and say it like it's been a godsend. It's saved our marriage because my husband or wife doesn't snore anymore. They can come back to bed. So, and look, I'm not going to say it works for everyone because there's different styles of snoring. If you have a really a throaty snore, or there's issues with your tongue sitting back into your throat, the mouth tape or the nose strips may not help. But if you have a nasal snore or a mouth snore, generally the mouth tape and the nose strips are going to help instantly. Yeah, could really save your marriage.
So, is it safe?
Yeah, so we get a lot of questions about that. Um, you are not going to suffocate and die in your sleep. So basically your body will alert you if your oxygen levels are too low and wake you up, and you just rip it off. Like I've had a few instances where I've come off the back of a cold and I haven't been breathing well through my nose. Even with the strips on, I'm just that congested. And I tried the mouth tape during the middle of the night. I was just not obviously not getting enough air through my nose, so I just took the tape off and just was able to compensate. So there's no you're not going to choke in your sleep. And we've even made, the new mouth tape has a little slit in them so you can cough. Like I would need to cough a lot during the night, and with the original ones we designed didn't have a slit, so I'd actually have to take the tape off, cough, put it back on. With this one I can cough. I can even talk a little bit. Yeah, so but it's enough to keep your lips closed so that your jaw's not dropping open
I've even had a drink of water through the hole.
through the straw. Yes, that was another thing that we were like, this could be helpful, so you don't have to take it off. You can talk a bit. So if you need to respond to your partner, you
You
don't
can
have to
even
take.
breathe through it if you
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, if you're really scared about it, you can. But essentially, the idea is to just keep the mouth and the jaw closed. Like, even if you can push air through it, your body is going to naturally go to the easiest source, which will then become your nose, especially if you have the nose strip on. Some people don't even need the nose strip. Their breathing is great through their nose, but they find that they're still mouth breathing or they're snoring. So they use the mouth tape to just redirect back to the nose. And that's the whole idea, is just retrain you to start breathing through your nose again.
What kinds of benefits can people expect from mouth taping that they may not expect?
I guess the instant ones that are more obvious is like just waking up with more energy, feeling 100% rather than feeling drained when you wake up and feeling like you haven't had enough sleep. The snoring thing is a massive thing that we always get compliments on. So if you have a partner that snores a lot, or you find you snore, and even if you don't have a partner but you snore, snoring is massively interruptive. Like if you just have a whoop or a ring, you'll see how interrupted your sleep pattern will be just from snoring. So if you can eradicate that, nip that in the bud, then your sleep is going to be so much so much less interrupted, so much deeper. So you're going to recover better, which in turn makes your day ahead um, much better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel great. You'll also have more focus. So for adults and kids alike, your focus during the day will be a lot better. Even down to the things like anxiety, stress levels. this brings this down because of the way that you're breathing. And we know that when you're breathing deep through your stomach, through your nose, you're relieving those stress levels. I only actually had a chat to my wife last night because she's got blocked sinuses, completely blocked. She's just come off a cold, and she's like, she cannot get any air through her nose, and she's like, I feel so anxious right now just because I know I can't breathe. And it's weird because she's like, I know I could breathe through my mouth, but because it's just blocked, it's just one of those things like that naturally relieves stress and anxiety. So that's another benefit that yeah, you're going to see.
All right, let's talk about kids. So Goat also has nasal strips made for just for them. So what did you decide to make a product specifically for children?
Well, honestly, I wasn't thinking about the kids when we started the brand. It was mostly, for me. And then I thought, other people who suffer with deviated septums would definitely benefit, or snoring, or just poor breathing. Which is the most of us. I think it's like 71% of adults are breathing dysfunctionally. So it's not just the people with deviated septums. And then after starting the brand and getting into more of the research and the feedback from customers, and I've got young kids of my own, I just I was astounded by the research behind it and how important it is to get your kids off to the right start when it comes to breathing. Things like ADHD, asthma, um, autoimmune diseases, like all of these things, attention, just waking up feeling really poorly, low energy, starts with breathing. And this is something I didn't know, and what many people don't know. So if we can get our kids to start off on the right foot, and like I said before, it's all about retraining or training correct breathing habits and not training poor breathing habits, which is mouth breathing. So we thought, that there's a massive need for this for parents, for kids. So that was hence the reason we started with the kids trip.
Incredible. I was just mentioning before, I was listening yesterday to a podcast with Dr. Kelly and Alex Clark. She is a holistic airway dentist who just started out as a conventional dentist, and she went on to discover that the whole system of how your teeth grow is based on how you breathe. And so she then has then gone to the root cause, which is something that I'm really passionate about talking about and learning that, and so one of the things she speaks out about is that braces will never work unless you address airway and your breathing style. And one of the things that she mentioned is specifically around kids, because once you see a mouth breather child, you can't unsee them. And some of the things you may see or be able to recognize for your own kids is they have dark circles under their eyes, they get night sweats, they're a bedwetter beyond the age of 5. They have ADHD symptoms, behavior issues, and this may be one or another or all of them. And she speaks into the connection between mouth breathing and the neurological concerns. And she really heavily speaks about because of the loss of breastfeeding, because I think, the statistics, this everyone will have to quote me on it, but from the something I read a while ago, only 30% of children are breastfed post 6 months. And that is really having a negative effect, not just on our own children, but our great grandchildren, because jaw developments are changing genetically down the line. And this genetical things. And then also being spoon fed purees at 6 months old and getting off the boob, as opposed to, and I'm very pro breastfeeding, as everybody who's listening knows. Not that I'm against it. I know not everyone can do it, and I know we have to acknowledge that. But I do believe there has to be a strong push for breastfeeding and not having so much push on to purees at such a young age, because it really is impacting the body, the human body, and our babies in so many ways that we can't even see. So
It's,
can you speak into the connection between mouth breathing in and behavior issues and concerns in children?
I mean, only really from studies that I have read. I mean, one of the more recent ones was a study they did with just over 6,000 children in the UK. And that study revealed that the children that were suffering from sleep disorders or bad breathing during sleep, 50 to 90% of those were more likely to have ADHD symptoms, asthma, autoimmune diseases, aggressiveness, depression, anxiety, hyperactivity, like all of these things linking back to breathing. And not to mention all the other stuff like you had talked about the jaw development, the teeth crowding, which I also suffered as a child because my parents didn't know anything about it. Like all this information wasn't around, or it was, but it wasn't accessible like it is today. And so I suffered with crowding and having fillings because of that, and poor jaw development and all those things. So it's just this flow-on effect that it could be simply nipped in the bud early days without surgery, and something that could again retrain the child's breathing so that they are reducing their the effects that come with it. I mean, I had two messages today from customers thanking us for creating these kids strips because it's been such a godsend to their kids, to their family. So it's really great.
That's incredible to hear. So, for someone out there thinking, but if I take my mouth, how will I breathe? What would you say to them?
Well, generally, if you have poor, like if you've got a deviated septum or you congested, I would say always start with the nose strips because then you'll see the potential of your nose. Because a lot of people don't even realize they don't breathe well through their nose, or they don't even realize they have a deviated septum until they try the nose strip on, and they're like, oh my God, this is how you're supposed to breathe. This is incredible. So I would say start with the nose strips and then give the mouth tape a crack, because that's when you're really going to start noticing the massive change, the change in your energy levels, your behavior, your attention, your focus, even your skin, your jaw structure. A lot changes with time. So I would say, if you have excellent breathing through your nose, give the mouth tape a crack. You may not even need the nose strips, but it's going to be a surefire way to make sure that you are breathing correctly, which is only through your nose. And then the effects from that is going to show in 1 to 4 weeks. You're going to start feeling really good.
Just circling back to my rant about Dr. I think it's Kelly. She speaks about how much you wake up as well throughout the night when you mouth breathe. And so you're constantly waking yourself up because of that tongue positioning. And she even
Mm.
talks about in this episode, and I'll put it in the show notes for everyone to refer back to. I definitely strongly urge everyone to familiarize yourself from a dentist perspective as well, on the sleep studies of what's happening when she did a sleep study on this 19-year-old girl. I just remember her talking about, and she was waking up 15 times every hour. So if you think about that over years, like how are you going to learn at school? Like how can you retain information? And you're going to constantly feel tired. You'll constantly feel your energy is drained. So I strongly urge everyone to do that because sometimes we've tried everything, right? And this is the beginning and fundamental of the human body in existence to breathe properly.
That's right. And many parents, myself included, don't want to just chuck my child on medication. Like, if there's a natural way to do it, like, why are we not trying this? It's so simple. And that's what I'm saying. It's such a simple product, and it's drug free, it's surgery free. And like I said, it's not meant to be just this band aid that once you stop using it, you're screwed again. It's a way of retraining your breathing, and it may take months, years, whatever, but you're going in the right direction rather than looking at it like my child has ADHD. Okay, just give him medication. But isn't that the band aid? Because it may be caused by the breathing and you're not even looking at the root cause. I mean, I could be wrong, but wouldn't you want to explore the different avenues first? And that's me personally. I would like to explore all the ways that I could. And what is the root cause? Is it the breathing? Sometimes it could be other things like the noise of the tonsils, so we've got to explore all areas. It could be sleep apnea, so yeah, I just think it's helped so many people, and I'm so grateful that it has because they may have found an alternate route, a more healthy, natural way of fixing their sleep and fixing their life, you know.
You've really created something unique, not just a product, but a movement. But I can imagine it hasn't all been smooth sailing. What have been some of the biggest setbacks or challenges faced since building Goat?
Everyone's different, right? Everyone's nose is different, everyone's skin type is different. So really that's been tricky trying to navigate how do we create the best product, but also the product that's going to work for everyone or most people. You can't please everyone, obviously. So we're trying to cover all bases, but it's been tricky because, some people might say, oh, this doesn't stick, but have you applied it correctly? Maybe your skin type is a bit oilier. So it's really navigating and, maybe your nose structure is quite different, quite flat or, deeper crevices. Like everyone's different, right? So it's very hard to please everyone. So that's one thing that it took me a little bit by surprise. At first, I thought it was just going to be, will we be able to sell these products? But it's pretty clear that yes, we can, and it's just been an absolutely insane year so far. And then on top of that, I guess it's more just navigating growth because it's just grown so rapidly. And so things like supply and demand, just making sure we're on top of, the supply chain, making sure that the quality is always up to scratch. Like the amount of quality control we do to make sure every pack, every strip is the same as the last, quality wise, it takes so much time. Like we don't just go place another order, it's like, okay, we need to do another order, send more samples. We need to test and approve those samples for this next batch, do the batch. So there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes to make sure that the product is always at the highest standard. And then just educating people. I think that's been something that I knew from the start was going to be a bit tricky. But the beauty of social media and the beauty of the way that I feel all lifestyles are going, people are exploring more health trends. And I think it's only working in our favor. So, mouth taping still seems quite foreign and weird to people, but a lot of people are already on the mouth taping train. Like they've been doing it for years. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to educate those who may be new to it and see so many people already doing it, using it. And especially for the kids, like that to me is the most exciting thing because, like I said, when I get those messages from parents that are just like, you have no idea how much this has improved my child's sleep and the way they behave in the day, I'm like, that's crazy. That's insane. Like I'm so happy about that. So yeah, there's always something in business. It's never, smooth sailing, but it has been enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm just going to explain again for anyone that's listening and can't see. The mouth tapes are like a big oval shape and they've got like a gap in the middle. So even when you do put them on, you I can drink my water bottle through them. When me and my partner started exploring mouth taping years ago, we used masking tape. We've used yeah, and so you're playing with anything you can find in your house or your first aid kit or the garage, and you're losing it. You lose like a layer of your lips or your skin, and because of his beard, he really struggles to find anything. So this is the first product that we have both loved because he
Nice.
it sticks to his beard. Well, you would know you've got a beard too, like the stubble, little short, not clean shaven. And for me, I love it. I love it so much. I'm wondering, I know this is I've actually spoken to my girlfriends about it because a lot of us in the more conscious community and like wellness community who are always open to try and look at trying to find the root cause and look at all the different modalities of healing have spoken about these, and we are like, well, what age could we start mouth taping the kids because it
Mhm.
does protect them from mouth tooth decay, and dentists all over the world are talking about it, but it's more, yeah, what age do you reckon?
I mean, I always say like see. see your specialist first,
Yeah.
because you know everyone's different, right? So on our packaging, we say for the mouth tape, 15 years plus, for the nose strips, 5 years plus. But to be honest, the nose strips, I don't feel like there's any real detriment to trying it early. It just may not stick because their noses are so small. And you don't really want it on your cheekbones. You want it on the nostrils because that's where the effect is really going to come into play. And with the mouth tape, if they're using it at a young age, like they might wake up panicky and, not understand their bodies as much. So I would honestly just either, yeah, see your dentist, see your chiro, see a specialist, your GP, and just talk to them about your concern about their breathing during the night and what they think. And you may need to find one that's a little bit more open-minded. There may be some GPs or dentists that are like, nah, it's not a thing, but it is a thing. Like you really need
Go
to,
to another dentist. Go
yeah,
to
go to,
if they're not addressing breathing,
yep,
then you need to find a new
some
doctor
issues.
or dentist.
Yep. I mean, we have so many dentists and chiros and physios that stock our product because they believe in it and they know the benefits and the importance of breathing right early on and throughout your life,
So what's next for goat?
Well, I don't know. We've got some cool little products in the mix that will be dropping soon. I'm always of the mindset of not chasing the next shiny object, because I think when you get into business, you have a tendency to do that. It's like, what's next? But I prefer to stick to our guns and just continually make a product that works, that people love, and not try and explore too much out of the norm. So I'm trying to stick to my guns and stay true to that. But also we're all about, like, I think I said this once before, I'm all about human optimization. So how can you get the best out of your life? So if there is a product, or something that we could use or improve, we might navigate that. So there's a few things in the mix, but I got to keep them tight-lipped to the moment.
So for anyone listening whose dream is to start or have an idea to start a business, a product-based business or a wellness business, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Test the market. So do research first, obviously. Research the market, see what's out there, see what your competition is. Is the product or the idea wanted or needed? And then test the market. So something that I think is not done enough is pre-sales. Like, why not get a group, try and get the biggest group you can possible to promote your product to, or the product you're looking at doing, do a small capsule run and do a pre-order, or don't even do the production yet. Get a sample, get a few people to try it, and try and get some pre-orders, and that will give you a gauge of how many people actually want this product. And it may not be, you might have a small email database, or you might have a small group of friends that can give you some feedback, but I feel like you really need to sort of get it out to the masses. So it might be something that you use a small budget of advertising towards, because you really need to cast the net quite wide to see if it's even worthwhile, because so many people, and I've done it myself, invest so much money on the website, the product, the production, and they don't even know if it's going to sell. They don't even know if people want it. So why not spend a quarter of that budget in, running some ads to see if this product is actually wanted? I think that would save a lot of people a lot of time and a lot of money. That being said, I did not do that with this company. I've run a few other businesses, so I kind of know the lay of the land in e-commerce. So I had a fair idea that it would work, and I guess I took a bit of risk, but not a huge amount. So I did test the waters in a sense, but I also had a fair idea that it was going to go okay. But I think a lot of people jump in head first and they don't really do the research, or even just, you know trial to see if people want what you're selling or your idea. So that would
Love
be
that.
my biggest thing.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Dan, where can everyone find you?
We are all over social media, as probably many of you might have already seen. At the goatco underscore is our Instagram, and our website is thegoatco.au. They're the two best places to find us. We are scattered around different retailers around Australia as well, but best place is to just hop online and yeah, grab a pack.
And Dan has kindly given our listeners a discount code. So you can head over to my Instagram account and click on the link in bio, and you'll get a discount off your next order.
Amazing.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for having me.